And welcome along, ladies and gentlemen, to round 4 of the Trackstars Formula 3 Championship here at a very wet and terrible conditions we have here at Suzuka Circuit, where unfortunately the racing is going to be like this throughout the whole night or the whole event of the Japanese Grand Prix. We've got the F3 drivers giving us a bit of a test just to let the main series drivers know that it'll be coming up in 2 hours time of what the conditions are like and what to expect here at a very damp and horrible conditions here. But joining me in the commentary box is my fellow commentator that joined me last time out in the Trackstars Formula 2. It is our series admin and 4 times Trackstars Touring Cars champion. It is Jarman Dalitz. Good evening.
Good evening, Nick. Great to be here again. Obviously a bit wetter than usual, so thankfully we're keeping nice and dry in the commentary box instead for the moment, but you'll soon have to get out there yourself.
Yeah, getting to the track wasn't really ideal, especially after seeing a little bit of a typhoon warning coming through over our radar screens, but it looks like it's settled down. It's just gone past Suzuka, the track itself, over this 5.8 kilometre circuit. A driver favourite around here, the track here, so luckily that's all passed through, but we're only just getting the scattered showers for which we're seeing with hedges on the track at the moment. Very, very slippery, so I don't know what our actual drivers are going to be expecting this evening with the open cockpit and getting drenched.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be hoping to have a few spare race suits kept in the cupboard, maybe switch into them between qualifying and the race, and then of course for the Formula 3 guys there's feature race as well.
And I expect for yourself, Jarman, as you are a real life sprint car driver, have you ever actually raced in conditions such as what we're seeing here tonight, like in the real world, or have you guys actually been able to not race in wet conditions so far?
Well, with the sprint car, yeah, it's not much of wet conditions that you get to race in. There's been a few times where it sort of started to rain and they quickly call it, but mainly in go-karts it was really there where we sort of had the wet weather conditions, and it was never fun if you speared off into the gravel trap and had to sit on the sidelines for the rest of the race watching everyone else drive around in the rain.
Yeah, as we get qualifying underway, just let Robbo know that qualifying must get underway. But yeah, I guess it's been funny enough for me as well that when I've been jumping in the rental carts and the arrive and drives, there was one particularly where I came from Newcastle. The main attraction, the go-karts go outside of the stadium, and there were a few times where it was really torrential rain, but they didn't even call it. They didn't even call a red flag or tell us to jump off. So we just went there on slick tyres and very worn slick tyres, and yeah, we were just like getting drenched left, right, front, and centre. So it's good fun, like when you're actually there. But the consequences of catching a cold or getting really drenched is diabolical as we get qualifying underway.
Yeah, not far off of going qualifying. So yep, they're just set up now. That was a very quick transition there from Gran Turismo.
Yeah, nice work. So, unfortunately, tonight we only have our 4 drivers joining us here for a wet Suzuka Circuit Grand Prix here at Japan. Obviously, we've got a few of the drivers missing here at Jarman, and as I reported earlier, there was a bit of a cyclone action here at Suzuka, and unfortunately, that's caught out 7 of the top contenders in the Formula 3 Championship. So 7 drivers have had their flights cancelled because of all this cyclone hovering Suzuka, and especially over Japan over the last few days.
Yeah, so obviously missing quite a few drivers compared to what we've seen in previous rounds. Obviously it'll be a little bit easier for us to catch the action, hopefully, but that's probably really the only plus side for us, is maybe easier to follow, but for these guys, they'll certainly be relishing the opportunity to bank as many points as possible, as we just see Purton getting all sorts of sideways there. He's certainly pushing the limits of the car. Of course, I did a few practice laps earlier on today in these cars, and you can can certainly push the limits a bit and get a little bit sideways and catch it, so definitely see a lot of drivers looking like they're out of control, but probably still managing to handle it.
And it's very interesting as we see Burton going really skating through the corners there. That it's not even a far journey when you go from Fuji, where they were last time out, to Suzuka. So very interesting. So we had some faultless conditions last time out in Suzuka, but obviously the typhoon and the cyclone that's passed over Suzuka has made it difficult for the drivers to actually attend this race. So they were just there. They're very gutted for not making the event, especially after we're only going to be seeing 4 drivers here. But obviously, it is the top. Basically, what we have here, in a way, we essentially have 4 of the top 5 drivers actually on track. So the key contenders are actually here, gentlemen.
Yeah, that's also a very important point. Is that the key contenders have found a way to be here. Maybe the other guys have sort of seen what's coming and gone, oh, maybe I don't want to get wet this week, and just sort of made up an excuse or something. But for some people, it probably has been genuine reasons as well. So a mixture of everything. As James goes a little bit wide there, that's probably going to compromise his run onto the lap here.
Not ideal as you're going to be setting your lap here on a very, very drenched circuit. We've got the 2 MSR VL racing drivers in Burton and Hedges currently taking that first and second, with Burton actually taking the championship lead away from Dargan and Carter last time out. I will rephrase that. Carter coming into this round was the championship leader, but unfortunately due to Carter not making it to the circuit, he's going to be a DNS for this event, unfortunately. So that might potentially relinquish that championship lead to Burton here in the car 91 as he's drifting around the corner on the exit of the S corners. And my goodness, it is so diabolical. But I mean, give credit to the drivers here in Formula 3. They're going through Decna 1, slide a car about. I don't know how they keep it off, but you can see the 2 Kiwis up ahead against the 2 Aussies. They're kind of used to these conditions back at home. Yeah,
you notice even in the supercars and many other championships around the world, once the rain comes along, it seems like the New Zealanders very much have a grasp on driving in the wet weather and always come to the fore. So it'll be interesting to see maybe Burton and Hedges will be maybe in a bit more control here and have a good run in the wet.
Control, you say? That car control that Burton had was incredible. My goodness, he's just trying to come through Spoon, and I think for the drivers it feels like it's taking forever because they just want the lap to be finished and they just want to just get the lap over and done with and just park the car up and get dry, because my goodness, it is so torrential there. But Burton drifting around through Spoon and then coming onto the back straight. I don't want to know what these cars are like through 130R. So if we go for an onboard with Burton through 130R, what's the pace going to be like? It's looking at about 220 kilometers entry speed, downshifts, gets it back down to 170, and then coming through to the Casio Triangle, the most difficult part of the track. Got to try and execute that right. He runs wide, almost gets onto that AstroTurf there, which has caught a few drivers out last time out at Fuji International Speedway, and obviously it's the same here with a wet track. But he's the first man to come across the line, set the benchmark time. It's going to be 2 minute 33.1 as we see Hedges right behind him. He'll come in for a 2 minute 34.1. So just over a second behind his teammate in Burton, and Robinson coming through onto the back straight here might be putting himself into the 2 minute 34s. No, it's 2 minute 33.8. And then we have Stig coming into the background after we saw that not so good start, 2 minute 36.2. So far the advantages, and looks like the key takeaway is just drift around the corner, Jarman, and you might set yourself a good lap time. Yeah,
got to live life on the edge here with these cars. Burton getting all sorts of sideways there again as he gets out towards the exit of the S's, heading across the first sector. He's 2 tenths down so far, so want to improve his time a bit there. Let's see what Hedges has. He's 8 tenths down. And then the next one to come through the first sector will be Robinson. Let's see what he has here. He's slightly faster on his best so far, so that's a good start for him, but maybe he needs a bit more time up his sleeve to contend for pole position. Didn't quite get what James was doing there on that sector. As Purton's gone off the track.
Ooh, and that's something that can happen. It looks like Robertson was also about to go off there as well in the background. No, he saved it, so luckily for him, he managed to save that lap. As it comes through to sector 2, Purton does the right thing and doesn't impede Robinson. But yeah, you can see there, I caught it, I literally just caught it in the background there. He was losing it through Deckner 1, but he saved it somehow, and I think looks like Stig managed to do the same as well. James rather, he managed to do the exact same thing in 4th place. But Hedges looks like he's kind of keeping the car in a straight line. I don't think his lap time or his sector times were great. But I think that's the idea with wet racing. Is like your first lap, you just need to set a good banker lap, and if the banker lap is good, then you don't know what's going to happen behind. Oh, as Hedges goes through it and bang, contact into the barrier. And my goodness, it is providing a tough challenge for those drivers this evening. Luckily, if we saw a full grid of 15 cars on the track here, I mean, my goodness, that would have been an experience as well.
Yeah, I could imagine that would have been extremely chaotic for some of these guys racing around tonight. Full grid of 15, wet weather. As it looks like Robinson's just gained a little bit of time on this 3rd sector. It's probably our only hope for anyone to put in a reasonable time or any kind of improvement. Let's see what he can do as he comes through the Casio Triangle to complete his time lap. Let's see what he can produce this time around.
Sort of a very smooth entry going onto the exit of Casio, but he's not able to get anywhere near his lap time there. So we saw 2:35.3, so no one's really setting up the timing screens. As we saw Purton go off at Deckner 2, and then Hedges going onto the back straight as well. So I think these guys have one more opportunity, because it looks like it might be the last lap of qualifying with just under 2 minutes of running to go. So drivers have this is their last lap, Jarman, and I don't know who you want to put your money on to take out pole position at the end of this, because you've got one more lap to get it right. And for Robinson, who's actually the lead driver, he's the pioneer, especially with these conditions. He needs to make sure he gets this section right, because through the S curves, it is very crucial to get that right, to get that line. You think about taking the wide line, but it's just clipping the apex there, because that's where all the water is. And he's actually 0.7 down, as Purton looks like he's drifting around the corner, but he's made it work somehow. He's not far off his lap time there. And then Stick coming through. Oh, he's the biggest improvement so far, 0.9, but it's only green though. And then what about Hedges as he comes through to this section here? He's 1 second down, so the man to look for will be James in 4th place. So Robinson is really struggling, because Purton's right on the back of him, where he actually left a good gap. 2 seconds is the gap, and Purton's gone purple by a fair chunk there, so he's on the advantage going towards him. James is looking into the greens with 1.1 seconds off his time, but not enough to get past, not to get anywhere near Purton's for pole position. Hedges comes through and is only 1.4 down, so this will get very spicy towards the end. Purton could be certain for pole position, but we have to keep our eye on James in 4th place.
Yeah, definitely say the advantage is with Purton here is Robinson gets all sorts of sideways going into that corner. I think Purton wasn't too far behind him as well. Go ahead, Purton carrying lots of speed on the edge of the grip limits there. So we'll see what Robinson's sector time is as he approaches 130R. It's going to be the last lap for all of these guys. Purton still 4/10 up.
So just lost a little bit of time in sector 3 there, did Purton, but he's looking more than likely to be getting that pole position lap time in, as we see. We didn't actually get to see James's lap time or sector time come through, unfortunately, but as we see Hedges coming through for the last time, we look towards Robinson. I don't think he's going to improve his lap time, so he may have to settle for P2 unless that P2 gets taken away. Oh, actually, you say that he's actually crashed into the Armco. And Purton comes through, improves his lap time. His first driver into the 2:32s. A really good lap time there for Purton. James comes through to P3, and Hedges doesn't look like he's making any improvements at all, unless he's got that last sector of the Casio Triangle work to perfection. He goes through to P2, so he's come out of nowhere on that last corner, and he's actually making it a front row MSR VL Racing for 1 and 2. Wow, that was a great last lap and last few corners there for Hedges in 2nd place.
Yeah,
That
great
was,
lap time there in the end from Hedges, just jumping himself up into the front row and creating a
he
front row
made,
lockout for MSR as well.
yeah, he really made that last sector work so well because I think from memory is that sector 2 is 1.4 down. So how he managed to find some time in that last section is incredible. And he's done a great job. Has Hedges in second place, but the man has taken out pole position. Purton 1 second clear of his teammate. The man that is on the floor, but the guys in that midfield is relatively close here, and it is wet conditions, and it's not easing off whatsoever, Jarman. So a lot to play for the race start. Between the guys in second, third, and fourth, but everyone's prone to making mistakes here, especially around Suzuka.
Yeah, qualifying, of course, about 1 lap pace, but the race itself is going to be a completely different story. It's probably going to be survival of the fittest out there, as you really want to put your emphasis on being smooth and making 0 mistakes and hoping everyone else feels the pressure and maybe goes off themselves.
So we're about to get the race underway. Our 4 drivers are ready to go. They are getting themselves into the cockpit with a fresh change of suits and gloves and helmets, and they're getting the white visor out. Who's going to be taking out the first victory in the sprint race? We'll find out in a few seconds' time, with both the MSR drivers locking out the front row, and then RSR with Robinson at the wheel in third, and then WTC racing with James in fourth place. So a very quiet grid for our drivers. A few stuck in the airport over this cyclone problem that's been hovering over Suzuka Circuit, but we have the top 4 of the 5 contenders in that championship here tonight as we wait for those lights to go out. 3, 4, 5 red lights. The reds are rising for round 4. It is underway. Lights out, green flag racing. It looks like Hedges has got the perfect launch there from his teammate in Purton. So Purton's struggling in that phase there. Hedges will come through into the lead there. Will anybody behind make a challenge on Purton as they try to navigate through, drifting around the corner, through the first corner and second corner? Yeah, it's very, very tricky conditions here. Robinson's dropped a position to James, but so far the jump goes to Hedges with that perfect launch.
Yeah, brilliant launch there from Hedges. Just getting the traction down much better than what Purton did and jumping straight into the early lead. Of course, very good driving from all 4 drivers, all filing into a single file at turn 1, avoiding any incidents that may have been unnecessary in this wet weather.
And look how close they are. They are literally nose to tail. This is what Formula 3 racing is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking, we have the best drivers that can field in Formula 3 as Hedges goes really deep through Deckner 1. Oh, nearly takes out his teammate there. And he goes from the lead down to third place. He might lose out to Robinson, but Robinson's gone full 360 onto that curbing there. And the inside curb is where all the water is. And unfortunately, Robinson clipped that, and that spun him around on the exit of Deckner 2. Very tentative start here amongst our drivers. So Purton retakes the lead in first place, and then James right behind in second. Hedges, after a mistake on the exit of Deckner 1, almost taking his teammate out in the Deckner 2, but it looks like they're still able to keep that single file formation. Hedges isn't too far behind James, but Robinson was the biggest loser out of that on the exit of Deckner 2.
Yeah, got to say, Hedges did a good job there. He sort of had a bit of awareness. He was almost about to come back on, and then just sort of took a moment to think about it and maybe realised that he was probably putting himself at risk of a penalty there if he just came back out on the track in front of an oncoming car. Would have put himself at risk of an unsafe rejoin. So good effort there for him to keep it off to the side a bit and wait for a much better moment to rejoin the race.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a very good job there. So as we see, Purton is 2.4 clear ahead of James in second place, and then behind him is Hedges. He's 6.2 behind James in the 84 MSR VL Racing, but he looks like he made a mistake, not just in Deckner 2, but he must have made another mistake somewhere. Very tentative, and then Robinson 6.7 behind him, so 16 seconds separates between the top 4 drivers as who look like to be very close in that opening phase in that first sector. But it's all leveling out here. These are where all the skilled drivers come into play, and if the skilled drivers, especially with Robinson, who's done a lot of wet racing in the previous outings he's done in Formula 2 and even in Division 2 of the Touring Cars Championship, even in main series as well. He has had a crack in the wet weather conditions as well. So this might play into Robinson's advantage later on in the stint at the end of this sprint race.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. You probably have to settle down just a little bit after that mistake. Just try and get some clean laps going there for himself, and maybe hope that there's some mistakes coming from the other three in front.
Yeah, so just looking amongst the drivers, everybody, the tyre that everybody is using is the wet tyre. So very, very interesting. I haven't really seen anyone able to use that intermediates at all, because it's literally on the border between intermediates and wet tyres, which I say, if I look into the background, I can see a car spinning the wrong way. It looks like it is Robinson, so unfortunately for him, his day just goes from bad to worse in this sprint race, and Robinson drops further back behind Hedges, about 18, 19 seconds behind the Kiwi. And yeah, he'll just want to forget about this race and just trying to regroup himself for the next race, for the feature race, which is 10 laps, which will be 10 laps, so something for him to work upon, especially on that racecraft. But looking through, Purton's still keeping himself a good, comfortable margin there. So he's actually increased that as the lap has gone by. Jumps, I think it was about 2.8, 2.9 going to the start-finish line. He's actually taken 2 seconds away from Stig, and almost about 2.1, 2.2 seconds away from James in second place. So he's done a very good job. A lot of practice hours for Purton. As I say that, he runs wide coming in through 130R. That's one of the risks that drivers take, trying to get as much speed through 130R, which then compromises the run. And then we see Stig and James have an incident there through 130R, and then we see Hedges coming through into second place. As Hedges takes back second place, a costly mistake there by James. It looked comfortable in P2, but one mistake there, and you are gone at 130R. Very risky move and a very risky corner to be taking at full speed.
Yeah, he's just caught it in the background. I heard the skid noises coming from behind, and obviously it wasn't Purton who was keeping things under control and rejoining nicely after running wide a little bit. So yeah, just caught the back end of James having a bit of a spin. Not sure if it was done on the entry and he's carried it on through, or whether it was as a result of a bad exit.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see Purton up in front. He's already set the benchmark there, 2:32, and he's gone 2/10, nearly 3/10 up on that sector. So he's actually gone quicker than his lap time in qualifying. So that just shows the incredible pace that Purton has. He's drifting around through the exit of the S-curves, and then looking down through the field. Hedges is 12.3. As I look towards the other camera, Purton's made a mistake going into Degner 1, into Degner 2. He keeps the car straight. He's just drifting around those corners. Incredible car control that the 91 driver has in that car. It's incredible. The car control that everyone's got here is astonishing, even though that's their first time racing in the wet.
Yeah, it's certainly probably a testament to these cars as well, is it provides the drivers with something they can handle easily, and if they do start to make a mistake, they can use some quick reaction times and gather it back up and try and avoid making some more costly errors or having bad spins. Of course, you can't completely avoid them, as we've seen on a few occasions with James and Robinson twice, but of course the little mistakes you can still regather and keep yourself going.
Absolutely. This looks like to be obviously it's the only closest battle that we're seeing here in round 4 of Track Stars Formula 3, but battle between Hedges and James for second place. Hedges getting back into second place after leading the early parts of the sprint race. He just dabbing the brakes there, as we see Stig just drifting around through 130R, but this time around he actually managed to keep it on the tarmac where all the wet stuff is, not offline. And looks like he's keeping it clean. He's closing that gap massively, so he's got a lot of car pace in that WTC racing entry. He's got a lot of pace that he wants to burn off, because that car 56 is flying. He's actually gone quicker than Hedges, and they're going to be looking to go side by side into turn one. Who's going to be the brave one? Will James hold it around the outside? He does. Can he find the corner? Can he find the traction? He just runs wide. Hedges will take back the inside line. So beautiful racing amongst our drivers here this evening. Hedges and James providing the show. Unfortunately, with Burton and Robinson in different ends of the circuits, but these guys are putting on a show for the fans here that have turned out in their thousands to watch some Formula 3 action. And man, that's some great racing between the two drivers.
Yeah, definitely great battle there. Of course, Hedges still coming out in front, holding on to that second place, and he'll be eager to hold on to that and secure a front row start for the feature race.
So as we look through the grid, we see Burton in the lead. His last lap, he said, was he's the fastest driver so far, but the last lap he said 2:33 flat, and then we've had Hedges here 2:35.1. So you can see the gaps between the two teammates ever so slightly increasing. And then we go through James in third place at 2:34.8. So that's why he was getting a lot quicker and on the rear end of Hedges, as we see Hedges really skating the car through the hairpin there at I believe that's turn 8 or turn 9. Not too sure. I have to look on the track map. And then Robinson down the back end, he set at 2:33, so he's got some pace to burn as well. So this is some good signs for Robinson to find out to that late race pace, that 2:33, that he can definitely use for the feature race later on at the conclusion of this race. But we can't take our eyes off this battle here, Jarman, because it's the only battle that we have. But my goodness, it's for second place on the podium. I mean, both boys could be happy on the podium, but they just want to one-up each other.
Yeah, and of course it could be crucial come the end of the season. Like at this point, you've got I think it's about a 10-point gap between the two, so 10 points could make a huge difference come round 9, round 10.
Yeah, well, it's even, can I say this? So we have James in 4th place, Hedges in 5th place. It looks like there is a bit of a gap between the two drivers, absolutely. So there is a bit of a gap, and it's all about track position. So Hedges has got the track position over James in 2nd place. I will say it's not just 10 points. It's, I believe, looking at it, it looks to be about 30 odd points between the drivers. But Hedges it's the same lap as what it was before. Jarman, Hedges trying to go for the inside line, James going for the outside, and looks like Hedges comes through. So obviously James is getting some really good traction on the exit of Casio, and they've put themselves in the same position. They're going to go side by side through the S's. Who's going to come out on top? Looks like Hedges will keep his nose ahead of James in 3rd place. So car 84 from MSR versus car 56 from WTC Racing. So the top contenders that you see in the Formula Track Stars Championship all battling it out in Formula 3. Hedges holding off in 2nd place, but James has got the momentum. He's got the car speed, and he looks like he's got better traction over Hedges, especially in that last section of the track.
Yeah, I think he's got the pace here. He just needs to find a way around. As Hedges, he
Hedges
runs wide a bit.
He almost made the same mistake he made in lap 1, but he just kept it off the gravel trap there. But that has brought James into the picture. He's closing the gap. It's 0.6 between the two drivers for 2nd place. It looks like you feel like it's the same kind of adrenaline rush that you have for drivers that are battling for the lead. But an excellent run here for James, coming to take.
I'm not sure what's happened there. I think Spud's dropped out a bit by the sounds of it. So Hedges leading away on this final lap, runs a bit wide. That could open a door for James to come through.
So Hedges comes through Spoon Curve for the last time. Obviously, we will catch Purden crossing the start-finish line as he's about to approach Casio Triangle, but the gap between the two drivers for 2nd place is closing. James is really right up in there, and Purden is coming across the last part of the section. No, surely James is not going to go for a move on the inside. Oh, these guys are drifting through the corners, and I think James has lost it. Purden has come through to take the checkered flag, and James lost it at the end there. He got too much curbing through 130R, and he just lost the back end of it. and that would cost him. Unfortunately, that cost him second place in a challenge, a grandstand finish. But my goodness, what a show these two have put on. Hedges will take out second place, James in third, and then a lonely race for Robinson in fourth place. But my goodness, that was super close between Hedges and James on the last lap. Just that mistake that James made through 130 arc really cost him. He could have just backed off a little bit, but that last lap adrenaline, Jarman, you just have to go for it at some point.
Yeah, it was definitely a great battle for us to watch, and certainly hope that they replicate that again in race number 2, or of course as it's better known as the feature race. And of course, I was just taking a bit of note there. I think Robinson was gaining some ground there towards the end of the race, so it might be one to watch out for in the
Absolutely,
feature race.
he was absolutely gaining ground there. I think it was about less than 14. I think it was about 13.8 seconds behind there as we look through the race results. Yeah, there you go, 13 seconds from what I last saw was about 16, 17 seconds on the previous lap. So he's gained a lot of time. You can see through the best lap times that he was the second quickest out of everybody else. So I mean, what could have been had he not made that mistake in the early or through the opening lap at Degner 2?
Yeah, you definitely have to wonder what it could have been, but of course, it's all done now. So the great thing about this is that with the way things are split up, they get another chance at it in a few minutes' time to maybe get a bit of redemption and claw back a few points in the second race or the feature race. And it certainly is one of those formats that allows the drivers to learn a bit more and sort of analyse what they've done in the first race and try and improve for the second one.
So as we take a quick break away from the series, from the Formula 3 Championship, we will be back with you very shortly for the feature race of 10 laps around this wet circuit here at Suzuka Circuit. Who will come out on top of this? Will Purton keep that momentum going? Will he be able to do a clean sweep just like he did last time out at Fuji International Speedway? Or will somebody else like Robinson come through? Well, may he challenge Purton for the win if he comes through the field? We'll wait and see as we take a quick break away from the action. So join us very shortly for the feature race. You're back now. So as we gear up for the sprint, for the feature race here for round 4 of the Trackstars Formula 3 Championship, Burton has now officially taken over the lead of the Formula 3 Championship, with the likes of James, Robinson and Hedges all making a move up the grid as well, thanks to these drivers joining in for what has been a very, very interesting, what has proven to be an action and very interesting race here with these wet conditions, especially for the guys that was battling it out for second place, Hedges and James for second place. So we might see the same action come through, but keep our eyes on Robinson. He was the man that showed a lot of pace in the back end of that. So he's got some time to burn here as we go ready for the final race, the feature race here at Trackstars Formula 3 with Burton on pole, his teammate again. So more or less the same grid that we saw with the drivers in the sprint race, but we're about to go 5 red lights. And it is lights out, green flag racing. So Burton's got himself a much better launch there compared to the sprint race. So he actually gets the car off the line quicker, and his teammate follows him as well. And these guys have just dropped these guys behind them. Hedges is going to go through to turn 1 with the lead. Burton's going to tuck in behind his teammate. And basically the same how it was last time, Jum, and Hedges leads his teammate. But look at the gap these guys have put on in that opening phase. At 1.3 seconds between Burton and James in third place.
Yeah, brilliant start from both the MSR guys. I'm sorry, the VL Racing MSR guys. They put on a bit of a gap over James there at the start of the race, but I think James is just clawing back a little bit through these opening few corners.
That opening phase was incredible, but Burton's really struggling to get the traction down that he needs, so he's struggling a lot more to get his car working. You can just see he's just still drifting around the corners. Now, what do we see through Hedges as Burton goes around? He's actually gone spinning around, so Burton goes facing the other way. He's off. The championship leader that took it out in race 1 in the sprint race has gone spinning around at Degner 1, going into Degner 2 as well. So, like we saw with his teammate in the sprint race getting it all wrong, it now goes to the championship leader in Burton. That's cost him. He's 5.6 behind Robinson, but crucially, he's not that far off the leaders behind him. And it is a much longer race, this one, so he might be able to reel in the gap as quickly as he can, because he's got a lot of pace in that car 91. But that corner and that has caught out another driver here as well.
Yeah, another victim to that corner, and obviously it's going to be an uphill battle now if he wants to go for 4 race wins in a row, but certainly wouldn't put it past him at this point of the race. He's got 9 laps to make up some time. A few mistakes from other drivers may come into play as well, and who knows, he could find himself back at the pointy end before the end of the race.
Absolutely, and now we're just looking down through the grid. Hedges has taken that lead away from his teammate, especially going into turn 1 and 2, so he's done a really good job with the start line. James is not far behind, at 1.6 behind. We definitely saw what the battle could be here. It's going to be amazing to see how these guys go in the feature race here between Hedges and James. This will be a great battle to watch, but also Robinson behind here is getting back involved as well. But look behind, Burton has caught up. He was 6 seconds behind Robinson. He's just under the 4-second gap, and the gap between him and Hedges has gone down to 7.3. So, could you call that an accident or a blessing for the other drivers?
Wow, that is a brilliant sector 2.5 there from Burton. He has obviously got the bit between his teeth at the moment.
Oh, he just makes the car. He just drifts the car. He just glides around the corner like it's nothing, like it's hot butter in a pan. So Burton's doing a great job in 4th place. Robinson still holding on to 3rd place, but that battle pack is brewing, and they're not going to be ready for Burton coming through, as we see Hedges, the leader, Stig in 2nd place, Robinson 3rd. They're all covered by 3.5, and then Burton's right behind, 7.5 behind his teammate in Hedges, and 4 seconds behind Robinson, but still struggling to get the tyre temps in this car 91. The Motors Brewery VL Racing entry, he's really struggling to get that tyre temp through. As you can just see, he's just drifting around the corners now, and looks like the others have just settled into a rhythm there. They've just got their tyre temps where they need to be. The tyre pressures have been working very well for the likes of Hedges in that opening phase, but it might come to bite him as later on in the stint.
Yeah, it's just saying through to Degner's that Burton just gained a bit of time there again, but I think he's just started to hand it back a bit as well, so this is probably the section of the track where he shows the most speed. So look for him to make a bunch of inroads. Robinson's gone around.
Off. Oh no, this is not what Robinson wanted. So it just goes from worse to diabolical at worst for Robinson, and my goodness, he's not having the best time here. Suzuka looked really good for Robinson there, just to keep that pressure. But we look back to the front. James has now taken the lead away from Hedges, so WTC Racing leads for the first time here at Suzuka Circuit. He leads away from Hedges. Person right behind him, he's 5.4 behind Stig in first place, and then Hedges, as we saw with that mammoth battle, that titanic battle between the two drivers, Hedges will be looking to get through with a bit of confidence while sticking to the back of James as they go into the Casio triangle. Hedges looks for a move. He feints the car into the inside, dummies it. He doesn't get the move done. It kind of compromises James on the exit of the Casio triangle, but actually it looks to be quite even there, but I think he's just gained a bit of time. Has James in first place, and if we can see their Hedges really struggling on the traction, and he's pulled away by 7/10 by more than 5 or 6 car lengths away from the drivers in second place. But look in that background, he's coming, Person is coming, and he's set the fastest lap at 2:32.3 compared to Stig with a 2:33. So we see Robinson in the pit lane. So you know that could be as well. He's on intermediate tyres, so he's trying something different. But I've also noticed something as well here, Jarman. I don't know if you want to bring it up here to the viewers watching the live stream, but we could see James is on a very different strategy. James here is on the intermediate tyres compared to Hedges and Purton, who are both on wet tyres. So as we saw the fastest lap time come from Purton in third place at 2:32.3. We saw James go purple in that first sector. So is the track drying up here? Is it favouring the intermediate drivers, I wonder?
It looks like it's sort of right on a knife edge, actually. Like there's a bit,
close.
Yeah, it's sort of a bit of a mix between whether it could be better for intermediates or whether it's better for wet. So it might just be that it's pretty even between the two, but maybe if you run off track, it's not ideal for what you want to recover.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I saw through the timing splits, he was personal best from his previous lap from his 2:33, but Purton behind him was 4/10 clear, was 4/10 purple on his lap time as well. So
and James has gone around.
Clear. Oh no! So James has spun the car around, and it just, wow, chaos and drama here at Suzuka Circuit. The leader of the feature race goes spinning around. James loses first. He drops down to third place. He might have it up to, and that's because, and I feel like that's the intermediate tyres coming into play. He must have made a mistake. He must have gone to a heavy wet patch on the track there, and that's caused him to spin around through Spoon Curve.
Yeah, you could probably attribute that to the tyres he's on, but obviously it feels like he has the pace, so obviously something he had to be a bit more careful with, probably pushing a bit too hard, coming under pressure from the likes of Hedges and Purton. Of course, Purton, who was chasing them down. And we're now at the end of lap 3, and Purton, after that spin earlier on in the race, is only about 2.5 seconds away from the race lead.
Absolutely, and as we did see Robinson make that pit entry, he's actually went from intermediates to the wet tyres. Obviously, there is no compulsory pit stop here for our Formula 3 drivers, but obviously he just saw that the intermediate tyres weren't working around the track. So bad strategy call here for Robbo Sport, racing with Robbo, now reverting back to the wet tyres just like he did in the sprint race. And he also, and to make his troubles worse, he actually picked up a 3-second penalty on the entry of pit lane as well. So he's just lost a lot more time to James in third place, and 34 seconds away from Hedges is a big margin, and you're just going to have to hope and pray it's just for that time to come down.
Yeah, you'll probably have to take that as a 4th place day for Robbo.
And I guess
go away from it, regroup a bit.
Bad. And you could just say 4th place isn't too bad because you have 4 drivers, and 4th place gives you still pretty good points no matter what. As Person just drifts again. My goodness, these drivers are just putting on a great showing here of car control, especially the 2 Kiwis up the front. But my goodness, he's 7/10. It's almost 0.74 up on that lap time. So he's definitely getting himself closer to the 2-minute 31s. He might even get himself into the 2-minute 30s. But man, these guys are incredible with his car control.
Yeah, these, as I said a time before, like, these cars really help you out with drivability. They just great to catch and just a lot of fun to drive. And if there's anyone watching along that is thinking this looks like a lot of fun, definitely get involved, because I can certainly attest that it is heaps of fun to drive, whether it's in the dry or in the wet. And there is a few places open for drivers to jump in, so if you're thinking about getting involved, definitely get in touch with us and we'll help you get onto the track and involved in the action.
Oh, as we see, Hedges got a little bit loose there, same with Person, but Person's going to look for an inside move in his teammate. He shows the nose. It looks like Hedges hasn't been phased at all with Person's move there, but look at the background there behind these 2 drivers. Look who's closing in on those intermediate tyres. It is James. So how is he doing this? So we saw Person come through out of nowhere with his wet tyres and his strong pace. He set himself in 2-minute 32 there, but look behind. James is coming through and he set the fastest lap time at 2-minute 32 flat. Person was on for a really good lap before he got held up by his teammate. He looks for the inside move on his teammate. Oh, light contact made between the 2 drivers. They're going to go side by side through turn 2, but this is all but compromising their run. This is going to hurt them massively as we see James come through struggling through turn 1, and the teammates are just going to keep going side by side. Person runs onto the gravel trap. They're just holding each other up, and this is going to help James come through and make it a 3-car battle for the lead, for the race lead of the feature race for round 4 of the Trackstars Formula 3 Championship. Person leads slightly ahead of his teammate with Hedges in 2nd place, but the man to keep your eye on is James in 3rd place, and he's the fastest man around the track so far.
Yeah, you can safely say there's no team orders here in this one. They're certainly gone for their own personal glory.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Person comes through it again, and then Hedges gravel trap. So this is definitely going to be opening up a. So James is looking through this and is thinking, wow, these guys are making so many mistakes here. I'm on the intermediate tyres, and it is working for me. He's only just down by 0.3 on that fastest lap time that he set here. So this is interesting. Like, this is really going to this is really playing to different strategies here, not just in Formula 3, but we might see some different strategies play out in the Formula Trackstars later this evening, because they're going to be looking at this and thinking if James can make the intermediates work on his car, can our Formula cars do the exact same thing? We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it would certainly be something you'd think that all of the main series Formula guys have been trying throughout practice sessions during this weekend, so it'll be interesting to see what each driver comes up with as we come into that main series race later on.
Absolutely, yeah. And we have our viewers here. Thank you for tuning in for the Trackstars Formula 3 for round 4. We have plenty of drivers and viewers supporting us here. So we have Young Hen up ahead just saying that, I won't say he or she because I don't really know, but we can say they said that they live near the circuit and you can hear the cars going around, and he or she were very curious to what was going on, and we are bringing you the Formula 3 action. Shadow GT is come in as well, supporting MSI's. Ed just drifts through the final corner, loses a lot of traction, and this is opening up for James for that perfect straight line speed of his Red Bull Junior. Hedges will go defensive, and it's just going to be a repeat of this battle, just like we saw in the sprint race. Side by side through the turn 1 and turn 2, Hedges keeps ahead of James in 3rd place, but looks like Hedges just run a bit wide. James is going to come through onto the inside. They're going to go through side by side. Oh, and James has gone off. James is off. He lost it on the exit there of turn 2, and he's off. And that is all but over for his challenge to get P2, and that pressure that he had to make on Hedges. He was a now or never move. He tried his best, but the tyre grip was not there, the WTC racing driver.
Yeah, just got a bit too greedy on the exit by the looks of things and just completely lost control, and that's going to put paid to all the effort that he's put in that second race. A very nice strategy call, but...
As I look up ahead, sorry, we saw Purton go off at Decna 2 as well, so Purton made a big mistake on the exit of Decna 2. As I look through the secondary cameras here, is that Purton just went a bit wide there through Decna 2. He's lost a lot of ground to Hedges, but yeah, going back to James there, he just too much pressure on him. He tried to pressurize Hedges, but unfortunately, as you pressurize somebody in the wet conditions, you become the vulnerable one as well, because you just don't know how much grip you have.
Yeah, and you've got to just be careful as you sort of get a bit too excited coming up to the back of another driver. You just try and find that little bit more, and maybe sometimes it just isn't there to get the job done.
Exactly right. So very unlucky there for James. That would have been a really good finish, just like we saw in the sprint race on the final lap between the two drivers in Hedges and James. They'll still hold on to second and third place, but I'm not too sure now because Purton is making quite a lot of driver errors in this lap of lap 6 to 10. We did see him go wide on Decna 2 there, and he's really struggling to get that car grip, especially in that car 91, and his teammate's not far behind him. He's not setting the world alight with lap times, with his lap times being in the 2-minute 35s and 36s with Hedges, Hedges, and then Purton's easily in the 2-minute 32s, 33s, but this lap won't be where he would want to have his speed coming through, as he's 2.8 behind. So there you go, 235.4 plays a 234.8. So yeah, it's a big difference, and that mistake cost him big time. Purton, he's 2.8 ahead of his teammate. But man, I feel really bad for what happened to James there. That could have been such a good battle. But also joining us in the comments in the chat as well is the secondary team boss for VL Racing. So the Kiwi that brought the team to life is cheering his boys on in Purton and Hedges, first and second place all the way from Perth. So the Kiwi jumping over to Perth, taking a bit of a break away from the sim racing career and just looking to focus on his work life and his work style. And yeah, I guess in a way, he's got some exciting projects coming through, so he's taken that step away from racing for the time being. But he said to me in confidence that he will be back better than ever in 2024. So we send our good lucks to him and for the best for his future and his work, and you know, cheering his boys along. So it's great to see.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be very impressed with what he's seeing so far today. 1-2 at the moment in this feature race, and of course a 1-2 in the sprint race as well. So very great result for the VL Racing team, and I'm sure a very proud manager as well.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's not over yet. We're still on lap 7 of 10, and anything can happen. The 1-2 is not sealed just yet. The boys are thinking, well, we've got ourselves 16 seconds clear over the guy in third place. We have to drive it conservatively, as we see Hedges make a mistake through Spoon Curve, and he's really getting that car battle through there. Just saw him drift wide through Spoon. Looks like he didn't lose too much time, but he's got a lot of dirt and garbage on his tyres on the exit of Spoon Curve. He really struggled to get the traction down on the exit of Spoon, and now coming through 130R, which will be very, very sketchy with those dirty tyres. So we'll wait and see what happens to Hedges coming through to 130R. He'll be a little bit more conservative. Yes, he does. So he will hold on to P2. We'll hold on to that car speed and not go wide through 130R. But Stig is 15.4 seconds behind Robinson, as we just saw in the background. He's actually still closing in the gap there. His fastest lap time on lap 4 is 2-minute 32. So, my goodness, Jarman. I mean, can the guy get any? Can a guy like Robinson can get any more bad luck that he's been getting? He takes a step down from Formula 2 just to give himself a bit of a break away from the tuning sides of things. It comes down to Formula 3. Has a great run. He's got the car pace, but just some crucial mistakes that he's been making.
Yeah, just those small little errors. Might just be an adjustment thing from Sport over to 7. That maybe he's just
true.
Not quite grasping things as much as other drivers are, and just having a little bit of a tougher time. I know sometimes it's I find it a little bit difficult as well to, you have your moments where you just lose that grip and there's just no way of recovering it.
Yeah, exactly right. So, unfortunately for Robinson, and as I just see in the secondary camera, he's just gone off on the exit of turn 2 again. So, it just days just goes from bad to worse, and like I can't think of any more words that are bad than worse, and then diabolical, and then terrible. So he's probably got a whole book of bad words to say about his race this evening, that's for sure. So definitely don't want to be in the garage in the Robosport racing camp after this one. So Robertson just holding on to 4th place. He'll take 4th overall. But still, it's still crucial points for his championship, and he still holds into that top 4 positioning as well there. But we did see later in that stint there, on lap 8 of 10, we did actually see Hedges closing towards Purton. So he was actually purple on one of those sectors there. So he was actually finding a bit of pace with the pace now set to a 2-minute 31.5. So the track's now rubbering in. Maybe these tyres are getting up to their peak temperatures, and the cars are just able to get that little bit of traction, a little bit more traction that they haven't been able to get in those opening stages. And Hedges is providing the goods with his best sector coming as a 2-minute 33, and he's gone 1.4 faster than his time, but unfortunately it's not purple to beat Purton, as Purton is coming through the Casio triangles on lap 8 of 10. And so you can see the flash of the headlights there. You can definitely tell 100% he's one of the controller drivers, so big credit to him whatsoever. So actually, funny enough, there, looking in the comments below, Jesse Gray has actually said as well that the controller boys are showing the other two up. So MSR VL Racing are looking to show off their controller pace in the wet conditions.
Yeah, they're certainly showing themselves off as a class of the field tonight. And from what I gather, they put in a bunch of testing during the week, so obviously they managed to make the trek over here early on with some better weather. Maybe while some other guys ducked off and had some holiday time, and the results are obviously showing as they've been able to avoid getting caught elsewhere and make it to the track, and also put in some strong performances as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and I can definitely tell as the manager of MSR, I've seen these boys since they joined up for the series of Formula 3 racing. They really struggled to get these cars under control there, but under the guidance of the team, especially with our Formula 2 driver and our reserve driver in Lansdale, putting in the practice hours and sacrificing some time to help the F3 drivers get to speed and help them get up to pace. And it's definitely shown that these guys are here to play, and these guys are here and committed to showing off their true pace in Formula 3 cars. It's actually been a while since we've seen these guys. The last time we saw both Purton and Hedges was in 2022 in the Porsche Cup. So they took a bit of a extensive break away from racing in general. So they had a bit of time off after the Porsche Super Cup. And yeah, now they just jumped on the GT7 and they are fresher than ever.
Yeah, I just saw Purton came up to that hairpin, just ran a bit wide and had the right hand side wheels off into the grass. So just a mistake there creeping in at the later stage of this race. Obviously not too costly, but he'll be looking to avoid making anything worse than that in the final lap here.
Absolutely. So as we go through a quick run through the field, we have Purton leading by 7.9 seconds over Hedges in second place, and then Hedges in second, 13 seconds clear of James in third, who is 22 seconds ahead of Robinson. So 42 seconds cover the top 4. It was a lot closer in the opening stages, but mistakes crept in amongst our drivers, especially. I think all 4 of them had mistakes in this race here, Jama. We saw Purton facing the wrong way on the second lap of the race. So mistakes can happen, and we saw that with Purton. He was facing the wrong way on the exit of Degner 2, and he's now leading his teammate by 8.5 seconds. So it's just an incredible comeback that Purton's come through. Even James came through a stage where he was facing the wrong direction through Spoon Curve, and he managed to claw his way back. But then again, unfortunately, another mistake on the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, you can say all of these drivers have had a mistake at some point in this race, so it's really played back into Purton's hands, and it definitely looked like an uphill battle as he was 10 seconds back at the start of this race, and now he's nearly 10 seconds in front, so he's definitely done a complete role reversal here over the 10 laps.
Absolutely, Tony. I thought he was about to go off there at Deckner White again. So on the last lap, you don't want to be, you just want to just glide. You just want to take it easy. Just pop the car in cruise control and just drive around the car, drive around the track, and really avoid those curbs. They are very, very slippery here tonight. So these guys are showing their Formula Track Star drivers who will be on track in less than an hour's time. So we will see what the drivers can do, but Burton still leads ahead of Hedges. 9.3 is the gap between the two teammates. And yeah, obviously these guys are giving good analysis to what the conditions will be like in the Formula Track Stars coming up very shortly. But through Spoon Curve for the final time, you could say it's a faultless race of Burton, but he had to work for a Jarman, and he's come through very nicely, and with just under 9-second gap between his teammate.
Yeah, he's done an excellent job so far, and of course the clean sweep he had last week at Fuji. And now it's going to be a clean sweep again here at Suzuka, 4 races in a row, where Purton has been first across the line and just has a few more corners to negotiate here.
Absolutely, so Purton's coming through to the final corner 4. Down here, so I feel like he might be just waiting for his teammates so they could do the 1-2 line stern finish here, but Purton's going to come through Casio Triangle for the final time. Purton and Hedges 1 and 2 for MSR VL Racing. Purton's going to come through to take that checkered flag, and Hedges right behind his teammate will come through with the 1-2. So big congratulations to the boys in MSR VL Racing. 1-2 for Purton in first, Hedges in second, and then we have James right behind in third place for WTC Racing, and then Robinson rounding up the rear of the field in 4th place. So 4 drivers this evening. Very short, not a small attendance here, but man, it's been action all around, all up and down the field as well. So it hasn't been boring whatsoever. It's been keeping myself on the edge as well.
Yeah, small field, but certainly not small on action across the night, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So well done to the boys in MSR VL Racing. Purton with the clean sweep yet again. So that's 2 in a row. That's 2 round clean sweeps for Purton, taking the victory. He's done a fantastic job, as well as his teammate getting the 1-2 in both the sprint and the feature race. Then we have James rounding up 3rd overall. And then in 4th place, Robinson, after what looked to be just a very struggled race for Robinson as well. He had the pace. He really wanted to pressurize the drivers ahead of him, but just mistakes kept creeping in to Robinson at the end there. As we look through to the final results page, Purton there, as you can see there, all the drivers actually went a lot quicker in that race there, Jarman. So you could definitely say the pace, the track conditions got much better towards the end there, because you could see 3 drivers in the 2-minute 32s, and even Purton getting himself into the 2-minute 31s. So yeah, really competitive.
You could even make an argument that maybe they got a bit more acclimatised to the conditions as well, and we're just able to find ways to find more grip the second time around and make some improvements as well.
Absolutely. So as we're about to wrap up their coverage here, thank you so much everyone in the live chat. Thank you so much for joining us here at Track Stars Racing Series for the Formula 3 Championship, where Purton has taken yet another clean sweep here at Japan. So the Master of Japan at Fuji International Speedway and at Suzuka Circuit takes 4 race wins in a row. Who can stop him next time out, as these boys take a well-deserved break away from their Formula 3 Red Bull Juniors, with Hedges in second, James rounding up in 3rd place and taking 3rd overall, and Robinson inside the top 4. But an eventful race here this evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks to my co-commentator in Jarman Dalitz joining me in the commentary box for what we have brought you round 4 of this awesome racing here at Suzuka Circuit. But until then, join us very soon for the Formula Track Stars coming up in 55 minutes time. But for now,